secure or how you are going to access those data from the system, right? Obviously, we are storing data into the system and we have to access the data in order to use it in your system by the end user, right? So in order to do that, you should know how and where I can troubleshoot if the data is not accessible. If I bring you an example from your actual exam, so let's say if admin people, right? So in the admin exam, there might be the question, some exercise that cannot able to access or cannot able to retrieve data from this particular object, right? What could be the reason? So in order to face that question, you should know the entire Salesforce security model, right? So if you know where I can go and troubleshoot only, you can get the answer. Because for you, if you don't know any of these modules and if you're just directly answering the questions, there's a possibility to you go wrong, because every word in the answer is important for you to give the hint. So the PD1 people, so those who are attending the PD1, there might be the question, you have written an Apex class on this particular object to retrieve this record. The records are not, their class is not returning any of the records, right? So as a developer, you can think your code might be wrong, right? So as a developer, when it comes to associate engineers or junior engineers or any of the level, the first thing, even your tech lead or even your architect going to say, see, your code is wrong, check it, right? That's going to happen in industry, right? So it doesn't mean your code is wrong always. So there can be some security layer which is hiding your records to be appear in your class. Sorry. So you should be know what are the possibilities and how I can explore that. So in terms of security model, there won't be any answer like a security model blocking these records. There should not be an answer. There will not be an answer like that. The answers will be in Salesforce technical terms, which you have to apply the layers of security in order to pick the right one. Right? So for both admin and PD1, this is important to understand why we are giving this introduction before your session starts. Then only you will concentrate in your session and you can interact with the facilitator. So facilitators we are bringing from industry. So you can see we are choosing the person who is expert on the particular area. Right? So why we are choosing the person and bringing in front of you? So then only you can learn it from the actual expert and you can interact with them. Right? So they might be already working with you. For some of you, there might be new. So whatever it is, they are really ready to answer your question. So I prefer you should you ask questions and learn from it. And after the session also, you can do your today also I'll fill the Excel sheet, so you can complete the modules and you evaluate yourself, right? And we will check your profiles and we will get back to you. So last time also Rahul asked the link, so we'll share it in the link to the group, so to fill your Google forms if you don't fill it already, in order to get us the trailblazer ID. So learning. So when you are learning, this is what important. So it's not only for exam, it's just only for, it's also for your work. So you should know why I am learning that and what is the purpose of this, right? So that's how you are going to face your questions. So the second session also something like that. So app builder and this lightning modification and all. So why everyone need to know, that's more into admin side, but still PD1 people also has to know. Let's say you have a requirement, right? So I wanted to the company XYZ wanted to create an app like this. So what you going to do, or how you are building your app? So in order to choose, so you all of you as IT people, all of you know anything you can build based on the code. You can write code to build anything, right? So it's no need to not necessarily to use the Salesforce features. You can go ahead and do the code. So you can create everything, right? So but you have to be mindful why I wanted to write code. So for that you should know what is already exist, right? So questions they are to confuse you. So that's just because the Apex trigger, Apex class is there. It's not like you have to pick that always, right? Even for some of the question, the client wants to build this system. So what are the options? There will be option, create your Apex class, something, right? So of course, Apex class is always the right answer. You can create, but most appropriate answer when it comes to that, that is not the answer. So you will be failed there. That's the wrong answer when it comes to most appropriate answer, because you have to choose what is most appropriate in Salesforce way. If you can do it in admin and point and click, you have to go for it. So in order to decide that, you should know what is already exist. Without knowing, just, yeah, I can create the Apex class, I know how to write the code, so this should be the answer. Don't go for that conclusion. Like, read all the 4 answers and you have to choose. For that only you need to understand this is important. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, so Dilshan is joining in a minute. So he will start with his session. So use him by asking questions if you don't understand. So remember, this is very, very important session for all of you, right? Not only for the exam, for your entire Salesforce career, this is very useful. Yeah, Dilshan is joining. He's having some trouble in joining. So let's wait for 2 minutes. Hi, Dilshan. Can you hear us?
Hello, Dilshan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, Dilshan. Yeah.
Okay.
So team, let me give an introduction about Dilshan. So Dilshan is a senior Salesforce employee. He started his career with Salesforce and now he is working for CMS. So he will introduce himself and he will start the session. If you have any questions or anything, you can interact with him. Yeah, Dilshan, we can start.
Okay. Yeah, just let me share my presentation.
Yeah, we can, Dilshan.
Okay. Yeah, so hi everyone. Um, Happy to be joining the certification bootcamp here. So basically I'll be talking to you guys a bit an introduction to the Salesforce security model. Was certified application architect and I have around 6 years of experience in Salesforce. So I started my career with Salesforce and I have 11 certifications at the moment. And currently I'm working at CMS as an associate tech lead. So working only on Salesforce. And I've also shared my LinkedIn profile if you guys want to take a look. So let's begin then. So these are the areas that I'll be covering today. So, and that are important in the security model. So profiles, permission sets, etc. And Brenda,
Most of the people are
they should have heard of it, right?
Yes, last time they covered the data model and all, and those who are
Thank you.
new, those who are studying,
Yeah, then it
yeah.
should be fairly straightforward for them.
Yes.
Okay, so let me begin by giving you an overview of. So this is when it comes to security, there are Salesforce talks about two things. One is the organization security, like accessing your org, like the login, password, etc. And then there is the sharing model in Salesforce. So first we'll take a look at the sharing model or the sharing architecture. And if you guys, go deep into more certifications, you will know that there is just a certification which covers this area only, known as sharing and visibility architect. So it's a very wide area and it's also very important. Okay, so this chart here that you can see, that's a very, let's say, uh, primitive or basic chart which shows how the sharing architecture works in Salesforce. But then it's also very important and it gives you a good idea. So normally when looking at this diagram, we have to always start from the bottom of the pyramid. So it's an inverted pyramid. And what this means is in Salesforce, you can always use different techniques. So these things mentioned here, you you can use it to give wider access step by step. So we start with very restrictive access, and then we can open up access to different data types in Salesforce. And when I mean data, there are three main categories that we can define sharing in Salesforce. The first one is object level, then there's record level, and field level. So you should be familiar with these three terms since you have an idea of the data model. Okay, so again, looking at this pyramid, you can see these profiles and permission sets. They are outside the pyramid, so they are the basis of security. And then after that, we will use these other techniques to open up access to records in Salesforce. So you will understand this when I start going topic by topic. Okay, so first let's take a look at profiles. So profiles are basically the most important thing that you can assign to a user in Salesforce. So, to log into Salesforce, you will need your own user with your username, password, email address, etc. So each user has to be given a profile, and it's mandatory. So normally when it comes to a Salesforce org, the profiles will be matched according to your business use case or business domain. So if you take a look at this example here, there are, let's say, 4 profiles. So sales, those are the sales users in that business. And then support, so support will be providing support to different technical issues maybe, and marketing. So these are 3 profiles which are mapped to the business use case. So normally it could be the department in your company or something like that, or the team you're working in. So those can be profiles. And then also there is, of course, the very important system administrator. So system administrator is the, let's say, the super user or the user with access to everything in a Salesforce org. And that's a standard profile. So every Salesforce org will have a profile called system administrator out of the box. So these users who have this profile will have access to all the data, basically, and also all the configuration and setup of Salesforce. So when we talk about profiles, profiles can be used to define the object level CRUD permissions. So in Salesforce, it's actually CRED permissions. So create, read, edit, and delete. So the object level permission to each object is defined at the profile level. And then the next one is, of course, field level security. So for each object, there are many fields. You can have custom fields, standard fields, etc. So at the profile, you will define whether this profile has access to each field. So for each field, we can define the access level, that is, whether it's read only or whether they can edit it as well. And in addition to that, of course, you can give access to apps, record types, tabs, and other Salesforce features also can be enabled at the profile level. So you will, when you go in depth into your Salesforce journey, you know that there are different features and feature licenses, etc. Those are also defined at the profile level. Okay, and then there are a few special permissions that you can define in the profile level. For record level, there are 2 permissions called view all and modify all. So for each object, you can define for each profile whether they should be given the view all and modify all permission. If you have the view all permission for an object, it means that regardless of all the other things that we'll be discussing in the next few slides, the users in this profile will be able to see all the records in that object. And then modify all, as the name suggests, it means that you will have edit access to all the records of that object. Yeah, so those are like very powerful permissions, which normally they are given to higher level users. And then, so we'll focus on this next. So profile level permissions and security can be further defined using permission sets. Okay, so when we go to permission sets, again, those are an extension of profiles. So if you go into your setup and go into a profile or go into a permission set, the user interface will be exactly the same. You can define the object level permissions and then the field level permission for each object. and then the other permissions like different features, etc. So the difference in permission sets to profiles is profiles are mandatory. So each user should be given their own profile. Permission sets are not mandatory. Permission sets are used to provide extra permission to a specific set of users, to a subset of users. And that is in addition to the user's profile. So for example, let's say in a company, there are, let's say, two departments, marketing and sales. But then so they will have their own profile with different access levels. But let's say we have created a team for some project. So they have to work on a project, and there are members from the marketing team and the sales team in that project team. So if we want to give some additional permissions to these people in this project team, we can use a permission set. So here we will create a permission set, define what extra permission we need, and we can assign it to those specific members from both the marketing and sales teams. So that's how permission sets work. And in addition, there's also something called permission set groups. So that is where you can create different permission sets, like a multiple of them, and assign it to a group. And then those can also be again assigned to different users. So if I just maybe show a simple example of profiles. Yeah, so we can see in this org there are so many profiles, and these are mainly standard profiles. But if we take a look at the system administrator, so that is a standard profile, and like I said, it's the super user. Okay, so here I have my profile view. So here you can see all the different permissions that they have. And if you scroll down, you will see first we have the field level security. So for these are all objects in Salesforce. So in this org, so for each object, we can view the field level security and we can grant permissions. So read access or edit access, and we can edit this as well. And then if I scroll down a bit further, you'll be able to see the object level. So these are the object level permissions. So for each object, you can have read, create, edit, delete. And like I said, view all and modify also. Since this is system administrator, they already have all the permissions. But for other users, it will be normally less than this. And if you go to a permission set, again, it's the same view for the same set of settings. So the screen is a little bit different here, but then again, you will have object settings. Here you can define object level access and field level access. And then all of these are for different features in Salesforce. And here there's a button called manage assignments, where you can assign this permission set to any single user or different set of users. Okay. Also, so if anyone has any questions or doubts, you can just unmute yourself and ask me, that's fine. So let's continue. Okay, so now that we are done with profiles and permission sets, we'll start looking at the record level permission, or the very lower level of that inverted pyramid that I showed you earlier. Okay, so, so the most important or the basic record level sharing feature. So these are all record level security model features. So the most basic one is known as org-wide defaults or organization-wide defaults. So as the name explains itself, it's the default security level for the whole org. And generally there are, again, it's defined per object. So per object, we will define the record level sharing. And normally there are three options. That's private, public read only, and public read write. There are certain extra levels for different special objects, but these are the three important ones. So private means that only the owner of that specific record can see that record. So, you know, each record will have a record owner, that's a user. Private means that for that object, only the owner can see that. Nobody else can even see it. The owner can view it and of course edit it. And public read only means that the owner will again have the edit and read access, and everyone else will have read access only. So read only access. And public read write means that every single user in this org will have read and write access to every single record from that object. So this level is defined per object. And then they can also be defined separately for internal and external users. So internal is your Salesforce users and external will be the community or experience users. And then you'll learn a bit later that, so this is the default org-wide setting, and that can be overridden by sharing rules and manual sharing. And by overriding, normally what we mean is giving more access. We cannot reduce access to this org by default, but we can provide more access. And another thing to notice, it works in harmony with the role hierarchy. So again, the role hierarchy I will explain in the next slide. And another special thing is you might know about guest users. So guest users are unauthenticated users to Salesforce. So you might know about this already, but in Salesforce, you can create a site, or it's called Salesforce sites, and you can expose certain things to the public without logging in. And in that case, the default sharing setting is always private. So that means that only owners will be able to see. And if you want to, open access, you need to use this sharing rules or manual sharing for guest users. And we'll go to the role hierarchy. So the role hierarchy works, let's say, with sharing settings or the org-wide default. And first, I'll have to explain what a role is. So when creating a Salesforce user, that is your own user with the username and password, with the profile, we can also define a role. So this role is normally not mandatory to be defined, but it is very important that we have roles because certain sharing model techniques will only work if the role hierarchy is defined. So by roles, what we mean is, again, it's can be mapped to the business. And generally, it's very similar to the organizational hierarchy in a company. So here you can see an example. There are sales managers for different areas, west, central, and east. And then the VP of sales is above those three. So these four will be defined as roles in Salesforce. And you can say that you can also define that VP of sales is above these three other roles. So we can define hierarchy. And how the role hierarchy works is in the org-wide defaults, there is a checkbox called grant access using hierarchies. And that is normally always true for standard objects. And by default, it's also true for custom objects. And normally, unless you switch it off, it will be true or it will be switched on. And what this means is, so let's say a user in this role, the sales manager West role, has access to a certain record. So let's say it's only read access or read write access, it doesn't matter. If any user in a specific role has access to a certain record, all the users in roles above that user's role, so in this case, only VP of sales is above the sales manager West. So the VP of sales will always have the same access that this user has to that record. So what that means is that in the previous one, even if we give the private setting, so if we say the object level sharing setting is private, so normally that means only the user can see and edit the record. But when this role hierarchy access is switched on, any user that has a role above that record owner's role will also get edit access and read access and the same access as that user to the record. So that's basically what role hierarchy means. So you should always keep this in mind as well, that even if you're restricting access by the role hierarchy, the people above will always have access to records. And also, again, this applies only to record level sharing. So here, that's what I've explained. If a user has access to a certain record, it doesn't matter through which one. So he could be the record owner, or we'll learn later there are sharing rules, etc. The users above that user will have the same level of access. So that's what the role hierarchy is, and maybe can show it to you quickly. Sorry, was I on mute? Or can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Dilshan.
Okay, I got a prompt saying I'm muted or something. Okay, so in your Salesforce org, when you go to the setup to view your org-wide defaults, it's called sharing settings. So although we call it org-wide default, the setups in your sharing settings. So here we can see for each object. So again, it's object level. You get the internal access and the external access, like I said. And you can see, so you get private, public read, write, public read only. And then these are the special ones that I told you, so controlled by parents, etc. But the basic one is those three. And if we go to edit, we can change it. And also the grant access using hierarchy. So that checkbox is, like I said, checked by default for most objects. And then if you want to see the role hierarchy, then go to roles. Okay, so here I have just set up an example of this is actually the standard role hierarchy that you get. And here you can see, so I have a top level role. So this is something that I just added for testing sometime. And then you get the different level of the organization hierarchy. Normally that's how it works. So CEO, CFO, and if you expand this, you can add roles to these levels as well. So you can keep on, adding roles at different levels. And then, like I explained, if one of these users have access, the roles above will also have access. Okay, so let's go back to the slides. Okay, so I will skip this and first go to sharing rules. So sharing rules is again an extension of the org-wide defaults. So sharing rules are used to provide again more access to records. It can be based on certain criteria, or it can be based on the owner. So again, this is per object rules, which are used to provide access to certain records to certain users. So there are two types, like I said, criteria-based and owner-based. Criteria-based means that you can define certain criteria based on the fields in that object. So you can see, let's say if it's a case object, you can say if the status equals open, we will provide either read only or read write access to a certain role, roles and subordinates or public groups. Yeah, and owner based means that you can say that if a certain so for a certain object, if records are owned by a certain set of users, so a role or the role and subordinates or the public group, we can say that those records should again be shared with another set of users. So that's how sharing rules work. And if I explain an example again, so that sharing rules are again defined in the sharing settings screen. So if you scroll down here, there is a section called sharing rules. And over here, you can see there's a section for each object. So if I said case, case sharing rules, you can click new. And you can provide a label and a name or description. And here you can define your role type. So it can be based on record owner, based on criteria, or guest user access. So guest user access is again a special one. Those are for guest users that I explained at the very beginning, who are like non-authenticated public users. But these two are the important one for internal users. So based on record owner means that here you select which records to be shared. So you can select based on owned by members of a certain group, a role, roles and subordinates. Subordinate means the people below that role in the hierarchy. And yeah, so this is again for communities. And here you can select either a group or a role. The next one is based on criteria. So here, like I said, you can define different fields. So you can say status equals one of these, and so then those records will be shared. And then the fourth step is you select the users to share with. So then again, you have the same options, groups, roles, and subordinates. So you select a role that you want to share the records with. So this can be used, for example, let's say, so you in the let's in the example of the role hierarchy, there were different roles for different areas. So if there are two roles in the same level, like here, so there are three roles at the same level, and by role hierarchy, the access only goes upwards, not sideways in this. So if somebody has a record ownership here, these users can't see it. But if for some reason you want to share the west records with the central records, you can use a sharing rule, where you say that any records owned by the sales manager west should be either public read write or read only with the central area. So those are sharing rules. And now we can go to another, well, a bit more in detail feature. Those are queues and public groups. So public groups, you saw that those can be used to grant access through sharing rules that you saw in my example with the sharing rules. So public groups are just a group of users. So you create a group with a name, and then you add a set of users to it. Or you can also say that all the users of a certain role belong to a public group, or you can define another public group, so a subgroup. You can say that all the users in group A should also be in group B. But it's just a collection of users, and they can be used in sharing rules and manual sharing. That's another thing that we'll touch on later. So those are public groups. And queues. So queues is a bit more special feature. It's a bit more powerful. Queues are used in an organization or in a company to share work among a certain set of users. And the special thing about queues is that a queue is, again, it's a collection of users. So you can add individual users, roles, or public groups to a queue. The special thing about queues is that a queue can be the owner of a record. So normally, we say that one user has to be the record owner, but queues can also be set as the owner of a record. And if a queue is set as the owner of a record, then all the users in that queue, all the members of that queue will have the full access, read and write access to that record. And another thing is, if you create a queue, so queues, when creating a queue, you have to define for which object the queue applies to. It's not just a collection of users, it's per object. And when you create a queue, it will create its own list view in the object tab. So again, I can show it to you. So you can give a name, a label, and here we need to select which objects the queue should apply to. And once you create this, so let's say we select case and we add a name saying, let's say new cases or case workers or something like that. When you go to the cases tab from the app launcher, you will see a new list here with this specific name that we give to the queue. And here you can see we can assign members, so they can be either users, groups, or roles. Okay, so go to the next one. Okay, the next one is manual sharing. So manual sharing is, so we know you learned about sharing rules. So sharing rules, we have to define a specific criteria that records that match this criteria will be shared with these users. Manual sharing is where you share a single record with a group of users or one user. So to do this, normally there's a button in each record. So in the record page, there'll be a button called sharing. And when you click that, you will be able to share the record with roles, groups, territories, etc. And I think by default, this button will not be available on the page layout. We'll have to edit by editing the page layout, but it's a standard button called sharing. And another important thing to know is that only these 4 users will have access to share the record. So the record owner or a user in a role above the owner in the role hierarchy, and users granted full access to records. So full access you can grant using manual sharing, and the system administrator. So only those 4 users will have access to the sharing button to share the record further. So again, it's important to know that this is per record and not for a set of records. So you need to go into a record, and then you will have this button to do manual sharing. So I think we have enough time to maybe check this as well. So if I go to the case object, and first I will go to the page layout. Okay, so you can see the sharing button is already added. Yeah, it's already added both here and in the buttons here as well. Okay, let me just switch to classic view. So sometimes there are certain other criteria that you need to meet to have the sharing button displayed. So maybe that's not met here. Yeah, so I'm not able to show it to you on this record, but basically there'll be another button here similar to this called sharing, and you will be able to share this record with certain users or roles groups, those familiar set of options that we have. Yeah, so that's what manual sharing is. Okay, so now that we went through, so those are basically all the record level and object level and field level security features that Salesforce has. So now this is an overview of the Salesforce security model. So just to summarize those, this first part, the organization access security, I will go through a bit later. But we went through object level security. So this is the top level one, which means that if you don't have access to an object at the object level, the record level or the field level does not matter. So that is defined based on your profile or permission set. And then you have the record level. So if you have access to an object, you can check the record level. So that is defined at the basic level by the OWD, the organization by default. And then by the role hierarchy. It's opened up further. And then you can use special rules to provide even more access based on criteria or for a specific um, record. And then field level security. So if you have access to a record, then again, whether you can see a field or you can't see a field, or you can only read a field, you can't edit a field, that is, then again, it's based on the profile and the permission set. So this is a very good overview of the sharing techniques that we have, or the security model. Okay, and then another thing that's important for developers is not for admins really, but for developers who are, focusing on the PD1 exam maybe, sharing and visibility with Apex. So each class, you can define an access modifier. So when you normally say like public class, you can say without sharing, with sharing, or inherited sharing. So if you do not define an access modifier, if you just have the public or whatever and the class name, it will be without sharing. So that's the default. And if not, you can define one of these two. And what this does is this defines the record level access in that class. So that means that normally it means that it's basically applying to your SOQL queries. So when you're querying the database, the access or the records that are returned in that query will depend on the access modifier. So if it's with sharing, that means that the running user, uh, only the records visible to that user will be shown when you do a query from the database. So if you don't have access to a record, that will not be returned even if you have a query here. And if it's without sharing, of course, it means that there is complete access or full access. So any query will return all the records in an org, regardless of the running user's security levels. And the other thing is, in Apex, you can only enforce record level access. So that you can enforce using with sharing. The object level and field level access, that's not checked by default. And for that, you will have to use manual checks. So if you do a bit of searching, you will see that there are certain methods in Apex where you can check the object level and field level access. And also to explain inherited sharing means that um, the class will inherit the sharing that is defined at the class that is calling this class. So let's say you're calling class B from class A. If class B has inherited sharing, it will use the access level that is defined in class A. And if not, it will again default to the default setting. So that is normally the best practice is to use inherited sharing on selector level classes. That is, if you have classes where you do SOQL queries, it's a best practice to have them in a separate selector, and those should be inherited sharing. And then wherever you're calling this, you need to use with or without sharing based on a requirement. Okay, and just to give you another, so again for developers, there is a very common exception that you will face in Salesforce when doing updates or inserts on a specific object, and it will look something similar to this: insufficient access on cross-reference entity. So it will normally have this two words cross-reference. That means that your class is most probably having with sharing. So sharing is enforced. And when you're inserting a record or updating a record, you are setting a value for a lookup field. That's a relationship field. And in that lookup, you're providing a record ID that this user doesn't have access to. So that is when you get this error. But again, this you will only need for developers, and it's not needed for beginners. But when you're working on a project, maybe in the future, this is a very common error that you get. Okay, and then I will go to a bit more in detail one that you might not need. So I'll just quickly go through this. There is another feature in Salesforce called Teams. So Teams are a predefined group of users who will work on a specific record, and teams are available for accounts, opportunities, and cases. And you need to enable this feature, and you need to make some page layout changes for this to work. But what this means is, so for a certain account, you can say that there is a set of users that are working with this account. So you can define an account team for a specific account, and those team members can also be given a specific role. So again, that can be based on the business. So you can say that for an account, you can say one person is the account manager, one person is maybe, looking at the finance part of it, and so on and so forth. You can define roles, account roles, and you can assign or assign different users to a specific accounts team. And also you can have a predefined account team or opportunity team for a specific user. So for example, for my user, I can go to my user record in Salesforce in setup and create a default account team. So I can say that when I'm working on an account, these people also will be on my team. So when you do that, what happens is if I am the owner of an account record, all those other members in my account team will automatically get assigned to the account team of that specific account record. And the same applies to opportunities and also cases. So this is again not a basic one in the Salesforce security and sharing model, but a bit more specific related to Sales Cloud, Service Cloud maybe. And the same goes to territories. So territories is again a Sales Cloud feature. It's enterprise territory management. That's the official name, and it has to be enabled in setup. So territories means it's based on geographical areas. So again, this is for accounts and opportunities. So by the way, you should know by now that normally when you mean accounts in Salesforce, those are either companies or customers of the business or the organization. So you can assign accounts and opportunities to geographical territories. So if it's Sri Lanka, you can maybe do it based on provinces like Western, Northern, Southern, etc. And you can assign these to you can assign accounts to territories based on assignment rules. Those are a feature that is there. And you need to also create a territory model and define your territories, states, rules, members, etc. So yeah, I'm like rushing through this because these are a bit more in detail and you don't need to know this for the basics. Okay, and this is actually the last slide that I have in my presentation. So if you remember, I had a slide earlier where it said that for the security model, it means the sharing level and also the org access. So far we have looked at the object level and the data sharing techniques in Salesforce, but now we'll look at the org access. So this is so as you know, to log into Salesforce, first of course you need a user. So the user has the username and password, and one way we can control access or enforce the security in an org is through the password policy. So a system administrator can always define the password policy for an org, and the parameters that they can define are the expiration interval. So you can say that each user's password will expire in like 4 weeks and they have to change it. Normally, you come across that when logging into systems where they say your password has expired. And you can define the complexity, so whether it needs to have uppercase, lowercase, alphanumerics, etc. And a history requirement. So that means that when you're resetting your password, you can't set an old password. So you can say how many passwords to remember, like the last 3 passwords, etc. And a lockout period. Lockout period means when logging in, how many attempts or how many incorrect attempts you are allowed before your account gets locked. So if it's like 3, when you get your password wrong 3 times, your user will be locked for a certain time. And until that's over, you won't be able to log in. Okay, and then we can also define a bit more complex the IP ranges. So that means that only users in this specific IP address range can log in. And that can be defined either at the org level, so that means it applies to the whole org, or at the profile level. So if you go to a profile, you will see that there is an option called login IP ranges, and you can define a range of IP addresses where users in that profile will only be able to log in if they are coming or if they are accessing from those specific IP addresses. And then the last one is login hours. So this is where it's based per profile, it's per profile. And you can say that users in this profile can only log in at a certain time, and you can also mention the day of the week. So you can say that they can only log in to Salesforce on weekdays or weekends, or only during 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So something like that you can define using login hours. Okay, so those are the organizational access policies. And now if I again go back to my summary. So basically I have covered all these areas. So these are the main areas of the Salesforce security model. So the org access levels. And then of course, these three are the data access. And some things that I may not have covered is Apex sharing. So that was not covered, but that's where you can, we can use manual sharing to share records with users. Apex sharing is where when you're a developer in your code, you can create sharing rules like this manual sharing to share certain records with certain users. So that is when you're coding in your code, you can do that. And another thing is, if you remember at the start, I mentioned that access can always only be, opened up, or we can only give wider access using all these techniques here. But recently, Salesforce introduced a new thing called restriction rules. So I don't have that in my presentation, but I'll just show that to you. So restriction rules can be used to restrict access to records. So restriction rules can be, again, it's created per object. And you can say that only these specific users will have access to these specific records based on a criteria. And when you do that, those records will be hidden from everyone else. So that's what this graph or chart means. So you can create a restriction rule. You can say for this object, if records meet this criteria, only these users will be able to see it. And what that means is everyone else will not be able to see the records. So that is kind of an exception to this rule that I have given here, where wide access is defined. If you use restriction rules, it will narrow down the access for everyone else, and only those users will have access to those records. Yeah. So that basically covers most of the basic things in the Salesforce security model. So yeah, maybe if anyone has any questions or doubts, they can use this time to ask that. And of course, everything is available in Trailheads, and this is like the very important, very basics of the Salesforce. So you can easily find resources on this if you want to learn more. Okay, so looks like it was
Yeah, you can ask questions like because this area is quite complex, right? As Dilshan explained, the way he explained, it's look clear for you. But when you actually attempt the exam, you will like, if you don't have the more clear understanding, you will struggle. So one thing I would say, like, so this particular slide is kind of summary for you in your exam. So if you look like field level, record level, object level, the combination of the security matter when you are troubleshooting the issue. So as I mentioned, the admin people might get the question like, see, this particular record is not visible for him. So you have to go to that. Yeah, Dilshan.
Yeah, you can continue.
Yeah, so you can go to the each and everything, the hierarchy decision show, so to troubleshoot, so where it is blocking. So similarly, the apex people, when PD1 people, when you are getting a question like this, records are not returning from this apex class, first thing you will check the sharing, with sharing or without sharing. If it is without imposing the sharing rules, then you also have to come here to check. So every level you have to check, and every point you have to check to find the root cause. So you can see that how many answers they can generate from this graph for a one MCQ question. So you should be more clear. So if the field level you have access and the record level you have access only, you can able to see that. So if you have one level access also, you will not be able to see. So those kind of possible questions you can ask to Dilshan now, right? So then only you can learn, right? So I'm giving you 2 minutes. If you have any question, you can ask. So if you want more also, you can take it, but if you are silent, we will have to close it. Yeah, Dilshan, if you want to say something.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, as an example, like Brenda said, if they say a user, can't see a specific record, then of course the first thing that you need to see is whether the user has access to the object, so at the object level. And then if they say that the user's profile has access or something, that means they have object level access. And then, you have to check the record level. So it's probably, if it's, private here, then certain users won't have access to the record. And then they might ask you how you want to, or how you should give access. So if it's to one record, then you can use manual sharing, or if it's to a set of records based on a criteria, you can use sharing rules. So yeah, I mean, those are like certain questions that they might ask. But yeah, if you have any specific ones also, you can ask.
Okay, your silence means we need to have a one-to-one session with all of you to make sure you guys are on track for the exam before the mock exam. So I take that as a concern. You understood everything. So we will share the trailhead modules you wanted to follow. Yeah, thank you, Dilshan, for your time, and we know like how much time you spend on preparing these things and all. So thanks for your effort, and thanks for being here to share your time with us.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda, and thanks for having me. So good luck to everyone on preparation and the exams that you're planning. Have a nice day, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Dilshan.
Thank
So
you.
team, this is the session 1. So we will have one more session. So those who joined in person, you will be getting your snacks on your table. And those who joined virtual, you can have your own snacks and all. So we will back in 10 minutes for the second session. So first of all, like you can have your own questions, like those resource persons are from industry, they are very kind, and like they are also doing these things for free of cost the way we are doing. So they are giving their time for us, so you can get use of them. So any other issues with the sessions you are having also, you can open up. So otherwise we will have a 10 minutes break, and we will get back for the session 2. And I will end of the session, I will add some links to the same sheet I shared yesterday, and I'll share it back to the team, to the WhatsApp groups. So you can keep on learning the trailhead. Don't keep any pending one. We'll be checking your trailblazer IDs. So if you are keeping pending one, at the end of the day, when we say this should be 100%, you will be in trouble, right? So just follow up. So then only you will get questions. So we can interact. You will have time to interact with us. So that will make your preparation smooth, right? Let's meet back after 10 minutes. You can be online, guys. Yeah.
Hello guys, hope you have had your break. And Brenda, we can start, I believe.
Yeah, sure, Sharma. Yeah, so our next facilitator, Thirumagal, has joined. She's also working as a senior sales. She's also one of the senior Salesforce professional working in CMS. She will give her introduction as well as she will walk you through more in this session, more into the app creations, lightning let's recall let's lightning experience uh, configurations kind of things. So this is required for admin people. This is very 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 much required. And for PD1 people, you should know what is the alternatives are then called in order to pick the right answer. So admin people, I would say 100% this is required for you. PD1, this is impact you in a lesser amount, but it's important to know what is the alternative point and click facilities you have um, in in Salesforce, right? So Thirumagal, yeah, you can start with.
Uh, yes, hello everyone. So you all know, good to know about me from Brenda. So without any further delay, we'll go to the session. So first, let me share my screen. Um, okay, you all can see my screen, right? Yes or
Yes,
no?
we can.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So in this session, I'm going to cover three types of details. Like first one is permission set group, and then we'll go to how to create customized application in Lightning Experience in Salesforce, and then we will move to the app builder, right? So first we will look at the permission set. So I hope before this session, Dilshan also has done a session for the basic security model, and you may get to know about what is permission set. But I will again do a small recap about what is permission set if you forget. So for that, I will take a simple use case. With that use case, I'm going to explain all these points. So imagine you have a pharmacy store management system, right? So in that pharmacy store management system, you have some objects like medicines, customer, pharmacists, like that, right? So imagine, in there is a profile user called pharmacist. So only that user can enter the medicine details, right? Other details don't have the permission to create or edit, delete the medicine object, right? Now think that pharmacist is going for a vacation. Okay, now he wants to give the create, edit, delete access to that medicine object to a different type of user. So he is requesting the admin, okay, I'm going for a vacation for 10 days. In that 10 days, I want to give this that medicine object create, edit, delete access to a different user, right? So let's say that user, okay, I will go to the user. So in that case, what you have to first do is you have to go to check the user profile. Okay. Now in this use case, okay, so that pharmacist is telling, okay, give that access to this particular user, and you will go and check that user profile. Okay, he is in a different profile, right? So now I will go to this profile, and first, as an admin, what I will do is I will check whether this profile has read, edit, delete access to that medicine object, right? So now I will search for medicine object, right? So now you can see this profile doesn't have any access to create or delete or edit this medicine object, right? So in that case, what we can do, so the request is we have to only give this permission to a particular user, right? Not all the users. So what if you give the read, edit access to this profile? Can you give like that? No, because the reason is if you give this access in profile level, all the users coming under this profile will get that access, right? But that is not the request. The request is you have to give that permission only to a particular user. So this is where this permission set coming into the picture, right? right? So using this permission set, we can give this access to a particular user, right? So that now as an admin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a permission set, right? So in the setup, you can type permission sets. Now I have already created a permission for that. So the permissions, I created a permission set called manage medicines, right? This is the permission set I created. Then inside this permission set, inside the object setting, I gave that access to that object, right? Now we'll see there is no access to other object, but if you search medicine object, yeah, now see, I gave the read, edit, create access, right? Now, after you give this permission, created this permission, you can assign this permission to that particular user. Now, if you go to manage assignment, you can see, yeah, so it's not yet, yeah, I will tell you why it's not showing. So, okay, now I created one permission set. Now we are going to assign this permission set to that particular user. Okay, now there is another request coming. Another person is telling, okay, I want to give some additional permission to the same user about some other object, right? For example, okay, I want to give the read edit access to a sales object. So that again, I will go to permission set. Then I will create another permission for manage sales, right? So inside this permission set, I gave the access to the sales object, right? So if you go here and if you search for sales, there's a custom object called sales. So here I give this access. So now this particular user need two type of access, different kind of access. So that we created two types of different permission set. One permission set to manage the medicine object creation access. Then the other permission set to manage the sales related object details, right? So now, so this is the permission set. This is the basic knowledge about the permission set. Now we will say, see what is the permission set groups, right? So now I will go to that particular user. So this is the user, right? So before coming to the permission set group, in order to assign that permission set, what you will do is you will come to this user record detail page, then click edit assignment, then you will assign the two permissions that you created here, right? But now there is another option called permission set groups, right? So what is the purpose of that group is, in order to assign the individual permission set, individually, you can merge that two permission set into a group. Like you can add that two permission set under a tree. So now for that, I created a permission set group to assign both that permission set into this group, right? So you can see, you can see in the setup type permission set group. Now I created a permission set group called manage sales, medicines and sales, right? So if you open this, here there is an option called permission sets in group. So you can click this and you can add the two permission sets here. See, now that two permission sets are into one group, right? So now they have the both permissions. Now I will go back, and if you see the difference between permission set and group, now I will show you. If you go to object setting, now you can see the access that we gave in individual permission set here, right? So I gave permission to medicine object and sales object. Now see, in this group, you can see both permissions. So I will search medicine. So now you can see the medicine object permissions, and also you can see the sales object permission. So the purpose of creating this group is, is it easy to manage, right? So you can see all the permissions that you give for this particular user into one group, right? In order to open that two permission set in two different times, in order to do that, if you assign that two permission set into a group, you can manage all the permission under one tree. So see, now you can see both permissions inside this group, right? So that is the main purpose of having this permission set group. And also there are many other advantages. Now I will show you that. So now I will go to that user. This is the user, and now in order to assign the two permission set individually here, I assign the permission set group here, right? So the admin can easily open this and he can view all the access that he given for this user in one view, right? This is very efficient, right? Now we'll see other features of this permission set groups. Yeah, the other feature is a mute permission. So here you can see the other option, muting permission set in group. Okay, for example, the pharmacist is telling, okay, please mute the permission that you gave for that user, like he's requesting like that. So that you can, as an admin, you can go to this mute permission set in group. You can create a new mute permission set, save, then open it. Now again go to object settings. Then open an object that you gave, medicine. See, now there is an option called muted, so that you can click edit and you can mute, so that that particular user will not get access to create or edit or delete this particular object. But remember one thing, if you mute the permissions in the permission set group, it will not mute the permission in the individual permission set. Individual permission set will be treated as an individual permission set. If you mute the permission set which is inside the group, it will only affect the group, right? It won't affect the individual group. It will be only muted inside this group. So that is the one point you have to remember when muting the permissions, right? So this is another option that you have to remember about permission set group. And yeah, so this is one thing. And the other thing is the status. So here you can see there is a field called status in permission set group. So there are different type of status. So in your exam, you may ask like, okay, what are the types of status available in permission set group? So in that case, you have to remember one is outdated, updated, updating, or fail or success. So I will explain you what are those status. Let's say if you apply any changes in your permission set group, the status will be first changed to outdated. That means your changes are applied, but not the permission is given. So that's why it will be outdated. Then other status is updating. That means they are updating the permissions for that particular use. Then after it's updated, it will be changes as updated. Then after updated, sometime that may failed or success. If it is success, it will become success. Sometime due to some other reasons like issue in the managed package, something like that, it may get failed. So you have to remember that what are the status that can reflected in permission set group. Other thing is, so first thing is how to create a permission set group. Then the second thing is how you can mute the permissions in a permission set group. Then what are the status available? Then the other thing is session activation required. So what is session activation required? So if this checkbox is not checked, right, this permission will be always assigned to that user. Okay, but imagine you have a use case that you have to only activate this permission set group to that particular user in a certain condition, right? So I will tell you a sample here. See, this is called session-based permission for Salesforce, right? So here the use case is, I will show you the flow. Okay, so you are logging into the Salesforce, right? So the use cases, they are telling if the login is coming from a browser, then you have to activate the permission set group. If the login is coming from a mobile, then you have to deactivate the permission set group. This is the use case. For this kind of use case, what you can do is, after creating this permission set group, you have to enable this checkbox. That means it will only activate it when you log in from a browser. If it is not from a browser, this permission set group will not give the access to the user. So you can do that in several ways in Salesforce. For example, flows. So in this example, you can see they have implemented this using a Salesforce flow. So they have created a flow. In the decision, they are checking, is the call from Salesforce 1? Yes, if it is 1, then they are deactivating the session. If no, they are activating the session. So this is one example. And also you can do this from Process Builder, or you can do it from Apex. So this question also come for the exam. So how you can activate, deactivate a session-based permission set in Salesforce. So the options are like Flows, Process Builder, and Apex, right? So that is the other case of permission set group. So that's about it. Any questions on this before moving to the other topic? Do you have any questions? Okay, so you can learn about it more. So in the Google, when you type this permission set groups Salesforce, then there will be a document provided by Salesforce. So actually, I didn't go in depth, but there are some small points that you have to note down in order to go for an exam. So this is the document provided by Salesforce for permission set group. So you have to go through each and every point and check what are the things. So for example, there are some limitations in a permission set group, like you can only create 100 permission set group for a hook, something like that. So you have to check that here, all those points. Like, yeah, you can see the common FAQs. So please go through this link and note down all the small points about this group, right? So this is a good site to know about all the things of permission set group, right? Now I think I will move to the next topic. So it's about Lightning Experience customization. So in this part, I will cover you creating apps and designing the app, right? So, okay, what is creating an app, right? In Salesforce, you can create different type of objects, right? Different objects you can create, but you have to combine all those objects into a application, right? Then only you can provide that application to a customer, to a user, right? So for example, I will take the same example I told you before, the pharmacy store management system, right? For that pharmacy store management system, I created some objects, right? I will go to the object section, right? Yeah, sorry, object manager, right? So here I created several objects called medicine, then sales, customer, medicine history, something like that. So now I want to create an application called pharmacy store management system, and I want to move all the objects that I have created for that application into one tree, right? So So for that, how you can do is, first of all, you all know what is tab, right? So when you create an object, let me take this one. When you create, so then only it will be visible like this, right? So I hope that you already know about it, but yeah, when you click new object and it will ask you an option to select a tab. If you forgot that step, you can go to home and type tabs, right? Inside this, go to tabs. Then here you can create tabs for your objects that you created for a particular application. See, these are the tabs that I created. Now I will show you how to create application. So here in the setup, you have to type app. So you can see app manager. So app manager is the option to create an application. So now I'm going to create a new lightning app. So I will create this, click this new lightning app. So my app name is pharmacy management system, right? Right, this is my application. Then if you have a logo for your application, you can upload that here, right? Then I will click next. Okay, these are some other options that you can support at Factor. So if you click desktop and phone, this application can be viewed from phone and desktop, right? And there are some other options, but these are not important. So I will move to the next part. Right, now you are going to select the items that you want to display under your particular application. So I will select the objects that I created, right? I will select medicine history. Then I have another object called pharmacist. Then I have contacts. Then I have another object called sales. So like this, you can bring all your objects into one tree. And then I have reports, right? Reports. So these are the objects that I created for this pharmacy management system. Now I selected the items. Now I will click next. Then the profile. So what are the profiles? Profile users can view this application, right? So in Salesforce, you know that not all the users are coming under same profile, right? There are different profiles, and all those users will be assigned to different profiles. So now let's say if you don't want to show this application to a particular profile, then you don't need to select that. If you want to only show this application to a particular profiles, then you can select that. So I will select, I already created some profile, pharmacist, then pharmacist assistant, right? This is for a sample. So I'm telling to the Salesforce that only these two profile users can see my application, right? So that's why here this option is there, right? So that you can, this is like a security, like you can prevent other users accessing this application. Now save and finish. Right, so now I created my application. So now how you can view application? So go to this app launcher, then click view all, or you can search, and now you can see my application should be visible here. Okay, I have to refresh this to see my changes. Why it's not showing? Okay, I didn't select the system admin. That's the reason. So if you open the pharmacy management system application, let me refresh this. Okay, this one I'm going to again edit because now I am logged in as a system admin, right? So, but when I select the profile, I didn't select the system admin. So that's why now I can't see the application. Okay, now I'm going again, I'm going there and I'm going to select the system admin. Okay, user profiles. Then I will select system admin. Okay, right. Now I added my profile. Save. So now I will again refresh. Yeah, see now it is available, right? So that is one use case you can remember. So now I will open my application, right? Now you can see the objects that I have given are now you can see. So here, in order to see this like a tab, remember that you have to create a tab for each and every object, right? And the other thing, you can rearrange the order, right? You remember that when I did this one in the navigation, it will look like the order in this order, right? If you want to change the order, you can change it. So this will affect here, right? The other option. So now you have your application and all those things. Right. Okay. If you want to have a home page, you can also add the home. I'm not sure. Yeah, home. So always your application should have a home page, right? So whenever the user login, he will be straight away redirect to the home page. So that is the usual way that we do. So you should always have a home page is better, right? So I will add the home page. Now I will again refresh. Okay, I think, did I save this? Okay, where's the save button? Navigation items, home, yeah, it's saved. Yeah, it's saved. Okay, I don't know why it is not applying. Okay, it's okay. Leave that. It should come, but I don't know why. Okay. Just leave that, but it should come, right? It should come here. The home page should come. So now the next topic I will show you. Now we will open. So now you created an application. So right now you have a different tabs and you have different type of object. So now we'll see how we can manage the list view and the record page, this custom button and all. Right. So now I will take this medicine record. And at the same time, as an admin, I will open the configuration of this medicine object, right? So here for that, you can simply go to the setup and click edit object. So it will show you the page to configure the medicine object, right? Right. So now these are the available options that in the configuration. And now let's say I'm going to create a record, right? Click new. Panadol. I will just fill like that. Okay, test. Okay. Okay, now you created a record, right? So when you click this object for the first time in a list view, it will show you the records that is available. And now you can customize this list view. So now you can see here in a list view as a user, you can only see the medicine name. But if you want to add additional fields here, you can go to this setup. You can create, okay, sorry, you can create a new list view. So I'm going to create a new list view, some list view, okay, test medicines, right? And you can control this like only I can see this list view, all users can see this list view, or you can share. So when you click the first option, only the user who created this list view can see this list view, right? If you select all the users can this list view, or else you can share this particular list view with a set of group of users, right? These three options are there, right? So I will only click okay, all users can see this list view and save. Okay, now you can see I have created a new list view, and here you can clone this, you can rename this, and you can select the fields to display. So now only medicine's name is showing, so but I will select category. I want to display the category and description and save. Right, now you can see the three fields, and also you can filters, you can see add some filters. So for example, you can click add filter, and you can say only show category equal test. Okay, so it will only show the where the records where the category is equal test. It will not show other records. So this is another option in the list view. You can have a filter, right? And you have to save that. And you can search the list view, and you can edit filters, something like that you have, right? And then after the list view, now I'm going to click a record. So it will go to the record detail page, right? Here you can see related objects and the detail page. So now, okay, we'll see how we can configure this detail page. So as I told you before, now I will go to the object page, and here you can see there is a section called field and relationship. So here you will have all the fields available for this medicine object. Now you can go to page layout. So page layout is the thing, you can arrange the fields. You can say, okay, this is the way I want to display the fields for the user, right? So by default, Salesforce will give you a particular layout, right? And you can go and you can edit that. So here, if you see the order, see the medicine name is coming first, then category, description, price. Okay, if you want to change this, okay, I want to have this category in the other corner, so that you can go to this page layout, and you can simply drag and drop like this, right? And save. So this is what page layout. So you can rearrange the fields and the view of the record detail page using the page layouts. And I will come to this lighting record page later. Before that, I will go to the main part, button, links, and action, right? So now you can see in this record detail page, or this in this list view, you can see some buttons, right? You can see some buttons. There are some standard buttons available for Salesforce, so which are already exist in the Salesforce, like for example, edit, delete, clone, printable view, change owners. These are like standard button which is already given by the Salesforce. With this one, you can create your own buttons, right? For that, let's say you can go to this button and links and actions. For an example, I will open the contact object because I have some sample there. So in the contact object, in the button and links, see, I created a custom button called start Zoom meeting, right? So for that, what I did is I click the new button and link. Click new button and link, and it will ask you to fill the name of your button. Then you have to fill. Then okay, display type. So you can see what are the display types. So for exam, you can they can ask you questions. What are the display type of creating a new button in Salesforce? So there are three display type: detail, page, link. So view example. So it will give you a link, not in a button format. It will give you a link. See, like this. Then a detail page button. Then it will give you a button that you can add in the detail record detail page. List button means you can add this button in the list view, right? That is the difference between these two. Then you can select the behavior, like when you click that button, if you want to open the page in the same window or a different window, so to select that option, you have this feature. So you can select, okay, I want to open the page in a new window. Then the content source. Okay, if you select URL, you can give a URL. So when you click that button, it will open that URL. If you choose JavaScript, when you click that button, you can type your JavaScript here, then it will execute that JavaScript. Or else, if you have a Visual Force page, you can append your Visual Force page here. Right. So again, they can ask you in the exam what are the content source available for to create a new button or link. Right. So I already created a button called Start Zoom Meeting. This is a custom button that I created. Right, Start Zoom Meeting I created. This is the Visual Force page. Right, I created a Visual Force page, then I append that here, then I created this button. Okay, after that, after creating the button, what other main important thing you have to do is you have to add this button in the page layout. Right, otherwise you can't see this button. Okay, so now I will go show you in the contact page layout. I added my custom button. So here there is a section called Lightning Mobile Experience Actions. Here I added the Start Zoom Meeting button. So inside this there are some options. So you can select mobile action. So it will show you all the buttons that are available. Then simply you have to drag and drop here. Right. So likewise I added my button. Now I will show you my contact record. It is a detail page button, so it will be available only in the detail page. So see, there is a button Start Zoom Meeting. Now if I click this, it will open my Visual Force page, right? So it will take some time. So this is the basic concept. See, now this is the Visual Force page I created. So it is opening that page, right? See, this is a VF page. Likewise, you can add whatever you want inside a custom button, right? Um, then I will show the other option in custom buttons, button and links. So now you all know what are the button types and links, right? There's another option called new action. Okay, this is something different than the button. I will click a new action and tell you here there are some options are given by Salesforce, like action type. So in exam they can ask you what are the actions type available to create a new action. Okay, so they can give you this option and they can ask you to select which is not available, something like that. So you have to remember that what are the action types, right? So like for example, if you click send email, right, and you can put a label and you can create. Now I will show you. I have created a send email action in my contact object. Mm, okay, I think I didn't add that in page. Yeah, I haven't added that in the page layout. That's why it is not maybe visible. So you can add that button in the contact page layout, so it will be visible. And when you click that button, it will open a standard Salesforce send email component, something like this, right? So you don't need to implement. So the most important thing in the action is all these action types interface are given by Salesforce. You don't need to create any component. So when you click send email, it will give you a standard email component. So you have to just fill the data and send, right? So when you click create record, then you have to select the object, Then in that button, when you click that, it will give you an interface to enter the details and create a record, right? And also you can append your lightning component. If you implemented a lightning component, then you can append that also, right? Or a LWC, or if you created a flow, you can attach that flow. You can log a call, you can attach a Visualforce page, right? So these are the important things that you have to remember before go to the exams, right? Okay. Now I will move to this lightning record page. Okay, what is lightning record page? Okay, so now if you take this record, if you click this record, so now you have a view, right? So now you can see there is buttons here and there is a detail page here. Okay, think that, okay, if you want to add more component into this page, right? More component into this page, other than this page layout and things. So that they have an option called lightning record page, right? Um, so you have to simply click this setting icon and edit page, right? Or else what you can do is you can go to that particular object and click new, right? So here, for example, they already have a contact record page. So I will open that. Okay, or else I will open it from here, edit page. So it will redirect to the Lightning App Builder. So this is what Lightning App Builder. So using a Lightning App Builder, you can design your home page, you can design your record page, app page, something like that. Okay. So now you can see this is the view that currently you have in a medicine record. Okay, let's say if you want to add a component here. Okay, I want to add a component called a report chart, right? So here in the component section there are many options available, so you can use that. Okay, like you can add a report chart, you can add any other like list views, flows, or as a Visualforce page. Let's say you created a Visualforce page and you want to add that Visualforce page in a record page. So just click that and drop it here. Then in the settings here, you have to just click that and you can select your Visualforce page name, right? And also you can, let's say if you have any other custom lightning components that you created, see picture gallery. Picture gallery is the lightning component that I created. So I want to have this picture gallery lightning component in my record page. So I can just drag and drop it here, right? Likewise. And okay, now you can see there are only two tabs, right? Related and details. If you want to add more tabs, what you can do is just click here and you can see tabs. You can add another tab. So you can give your name, whatever you want, custom one. You can choose, create your own tab, or you can, there are already some standard tabs are available. You can choose that. Okay, so I'm going to select the standard tab called chatter, right? Chatter component, done. And see now the new tab is created, and inside this you can add the chatter component. Yeah, so currently it is not available because you have to enable some setting in order to access the chatter, right? So that's why it's available, but you can add it, right? Mm, and let's say inside this tab, okay, I'll create another tab. Let's say if you want to create another tab like for activities, I don't know, activities also available, so something like that, or else I will create a new custom my one test. Okay, then inside this one you can add whatever the component that you want. Quick notification or like recent items, and okay, if you want to add any other related list which is related to this medicine object, so you can select single related list, right? Then here you can select what other related lists you want to show. So I will select files, right? Yeah, so files. there are some errors because of some access issue. Okay, so this is the basic concepts, like, so you can drag and drop whatever the visible here, right? What are the components that you can add it to your record page, right? And other thing in this record page is security thing. Okay, so let's say you have this component, right? Okay, picture gallery component, right? So you are saying there is a use case, only a particular user can see this picture gallery, not all the users can see this picture gallery. In that use case, you can simply add a filter. See, set component visibility, right? So you have to click this component and you have to add a filter, right? So here you can select, okay, if the category equal something only, the user can view this picture gallery. Or else there is another option like advanced. Here you can select the user object, user, right? You can select user and ID or something, or user country. Let's say user country. If user country equals something only, that user can see this, right? Yeah, user country contains some value, right? Some Belgium or something. Then let's say Belgium. Okay, now you have added a filter, component visibility filter to this object. So whenever a user logged into this system, it will check the user country. If the country is Belgium only, he can view this picture gallery. Okay, if his country is not Belgium, then this will be disabled for him, right? So that is the other option, set component visibility. And other thing, okay, now I will come to this part. Okay, there is a option called highlight panel, right? So what is highlight panel, right? So now when a user open this record, right, he wants to see some important fields as highlighted. He wants that some important fields should be highlighted, right? So that this feature will be helpful, which is called highlighted panel. So to add the fields inside that highlighted panel, what you have to do is go to the object, and there is an object feature called compact layout, right? So here there is already a default compact layout. You can edit this or you can create a new one. So here you can see the included fields, right? See, name, title, account name. Now I will show you. So medicine, there is nothing. So I will show, open the contact. Okay, now I will open a contact record page where the highlight records are available. So I will open a contact record. Then I will open this page in Lightning App Builder. Edit page. Now I will show you the highlight panel here. Okay, see, above the detail record detail page, see, some important fields are showing highlighted, right? So now if you go and see this is the order: name, title, account name, phone, email. See, name, title, phone, email, contact owner, right? If you want to remove this, you can add or you can remove. For that, I think you have to create a new compact layout, and you can add whatever you want. And then you have to select this highlight panel, and here you can select what is the layout. Right now it is by system default. If you have any other layout, you can select that, right? That is what highlight panel. So you can get a question like, okay, in order to have a highlight panel, how you can create that? Okay, that is using a compact layout. Using a compact layout only, you can highlight the fields in the Lightning App Builder, right? That is one thing. And the other option in the highlight panel, see, you have some buttons, right? So you can, like, there are some other options. You can encaps or collapse this highlight panel. See, this option is there. If you want to hide this follow button, you can select this. And see, now you can only see 3 buttons. So if you want to only see 2 buttons, you can see set 2 buttons. So you can now only see 2 button, other will become inside a drop down, right? And also you can and other option, upgrade to dynamic option actions, right? So if you click upgrade, you can start it from the scratch. Okay, you can add the action what you want. So the already existing button will be disappear, and you can add the actions that you want. So you can add okay, delete button. So now see the delete button is there, and you can add okay, I want to add another printable view button. So likewise you can have your own buttons here, right? And also here also there is a security feature that you can filter this visibility. Same thing as you did for component, you can set some visibility at filter, then select the fields conditions here. So if that condition is true, only that particular button will be appear here, right? So that option is also here for buttons and components, right? What else you want to know about this lightning? So now you can see chatter, right? This is a separate component. Then you can add chatters. See, activities is there. You can add just drag and drop chatters. So this is a standard Salesforce feature. You can post a question, something like that. You can post something. And activities, there is another component called activities, like you can send mail, you can create a new task, something like that, right? So you have to just play with this lightning app builder, so then only you will get to know what are the features, the good features you have, right? So as you can see in Salesforce, most of the things, the most of the basic things are configurable. It's like, you know, it's clickable thing. You don't need to write any code to design this page, right? It's just point and click, right? So yeah, so those are the things about lightning app builder. Then what else I missed? Yeah, and okay, activating this lightning app builder. So now you created a record page, right? So now you there is a use case called, okay, only this profile users can this view of a record detail page, right? Other some set of profiles need a different design. So in that case, what you can do is here there is an option called activation. Just click this. Then now after create your record page, you have to activate this. You can have an option called, okay, set org default. If you set this as a org default, all the users will have this view, right? Or else you can say app default. Assign app default means, let's say you have different types, right? So I will select my pharmacy management system. So then click next. Then I will select, okay, this should be visible in desktop and phone, or only desktop or only phone. Then click next and then save. So when I open that app, this contact page will be like this inside that application. Or else you can control by profile also. See, there is another option called assign to record types and profiles. So you can select, okay, inside my pharmacy management system, desktop and phone. If you have, see, I have a record. If you have the record type, you can select the record types. Then you can select the profile. So if I select a pharmacist and assistant pharmacist, only those two profile users have this view, right? Other users will have a default view, right? So likewise, you can control this page and click next and save, right? For other user profile, you can create a new page, right? Here, go to page. There is an option called new pages, right? Then you can leave this page. Then there is another 4 options: app page, home page, record page, and service page. So now we are in a record page, right? Click record page and click next. Give a name according to your use case. You can give some name. Then you can select your object. So in this case, contact. So I'm going to select the contact. Then the layout. So if what kind of layout you want. See, if you select the first option, it will look like this. It will select the second option, it will look like third option like this. You header and 3 regions like that. Okay, let me select this. I will select that layout. Now you can see the difference between the previous one and this one. Now you have 3 separated, see 3 separated layouts, right? Then again you can start adding your component. What the highlight panel, then record detail here, inside here, then chatter here, activities here. So something like that, you can start design, then click activation, save, then click activation and select your profile. So that for different profiles, you can assign different type of pages, right? That option is also there. And now this is a record page. Now I will show you creating a home page, because home page is always a different page, right? It will not contain any record detail. It's just a home page, right? Okay, I will select a new page. Then open up. You can open the existing page as well, or else you can create a new page. So there I will select home page, and again you can select your template and finish. So these components are difference between a record page and a home page, right? Because a home page, sometimes a home page doesn't need the components that needed for a record page. If you can see here, see the type of components are different. Some things are similar, but some things are different. Like, see, you can add see today's event, right? Today's event, so it will show you what are the events that you have to attend today, right? In the home page, what are the tasks you have to do today, today's task, right? And you can add a calendar, and there should be an option called, or else you can create a dashboard or report, and you can add your dashboards inside your home page, right? You can select the dashboard here and it will show the dashboards and some graphs. If you have this approval process, if you select these items to approve, it will show you what are the items that you have to approve, something like that. See, this is the existing dashboard that we created. Now this home page will see this dashboard, right? The feature is same, but the components are different, right? So that is the only difference between home page and record page. But you should know what kind of activities that you can do it in a home page, right? So that's it about. So meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can ask me. What else I missed? Quick action. Yeah, I think I have covered almost all the points that in this section. Yeah, so you can ask me any questions if you have. So before go to the exam, just play with this feature, right? Sometime if you study that using a trial head, this kind of things you can't remember. If you do that only, you will get remember, okay, what are the mistake you did, then what are the options were there, right? So don't just go through this study that trial head and go. Just you have to play with this, right? Mm.
Yeah, so you can ask any questions if you have any doubt. I think this is very detailed lesson, right? So I hope nobody can score less in this session. That much detail and clear. Thanks, Thirumagal, for the presentation and your time and all. We really, really enjoyed it, and it's very clear for us. So I hope like participants also feel the same. And yeah, so this is the second session. Still, I see the participants feeling shy to talk. We'll see. Moving forward, we will let them talk. Yeah. So can I let Thirumagal go? Oh, any questions, guys, you have? Okay, so we'll update the sheet and we'll share the links and yeah, so you can carry on your preparation. Thanks for the time and joining with us.
Okay, thank you everyone for listening. Actually, it's a pleasure to have this session with you all. I'm very happy to share my knowledge with you all. So yeah, it's a good day for me. Thank you for this opportunity, Brenda.
Yeah, thanks Thiru. And guys, like yeah. So Thirumal is one of the examples. She started her career in Salesforce, and like she learned everything very clear. The way she explained, you guys might get the things how she has learned the things, right? So the same when you turn to Salesforce developers, we expect you to learn the same way and show the things. And expertise in each and every area. So that's what for these exams, we didn't just focus on the exam in the first workshops, though we have the special sessions for the exams questions based one. So we want you to learn everything clearly and face the exam. So, and one more reminder we have to make, I think Sharma will talk more on that. So attending the workshops and attendance of the sessions, that is also very important. So as usual, I'll update the links to the sheet so you can follow and complete it. So next session probably will be separate, like 95% it will be separate for admin and PD1 because we are going to touch different areas. So we will give the announcement as soon as possible once we finalize with the speakers and all. Yeah, Sharma, you can start. Thanks, Thiru. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to Malaka for the session. We really enjoyed it, and even though we have certified, even I was able to learn a couple of stuff, to be honest. Thanks for the detailed session, as Brindaka mentioned. And for the participants, like yeah, as I mentioned earlier, at the end of the this series of the bootcamp sessions, we will be doing kind of evaluation, and there will be a mock exam as well. So whoever getting the enough marks that we feel confident that you will guys be able to pass the actual certification exam, we will be providing you the certification vouchers. We will be sharing the certification vouchers for free, which is $200 worth. We will be able to provide you those stuff. At the same time, please note that participating in the meeting is really important because the facilitators, investing a lot of time for preparation and creating the slides, and they are kind of spending their weekends where they would usually spend the time with the family for you for free. They are also doing it as a community work, right? So we have to we should appreciate it and we should respect it. So your participations and your continue of like questions and stuff will encourage them to do more sessions, and they will be also they will feel satisfied that they are doing they are giving back to the community. So technically, as I mentioned, we will be tracking your meeting participations both in person and virtual. And based on that, those participations of the meetings also will play a role in the final decision, based because we will be evaluating your commitment and the progress of your trailhead modules and everything. So overall, everything will play a major role in the certification vouchers allocations and the SWACs allocations as well. So make sure you are continually participating in these sessions. Let's say if you have any issues, you are unable to participate for some inevitable reasons, you can mention in the group, or you can PM me, Nandarman or Brenda, whoever. So we will be able to even share the meeting recordings to those who are unable to participate in the meeting for a like acceptable reason. Brenda, if you have missed anything, you can add.
No, Sharma, you covered. So this is why we are making this strict, because the speakers are giving their time. Just we are requesting the speakers to giving their time, so they also will be looking at the outputs, right? So if you are not showing enough output means it's not passing the exam. You should have the knowledge, then only you have to pass the exam. Passing the exam without having proper knowledge, we don't recommend, because you are going to be a Salesforce developers at the end. So throughout the journey with us for our past workshops and all, whosoever travel with the community, they know how much we are strict. We will have fun when there's an event, fun events, when there's a Pongal celebration, year-end party and all. But we will be very strict with the work, because we want this should be actual productive time. It's for you and us. So make sure you are following the things, and I just updated the sheet with the relevant content, so you can follow. If you have any issues accessing the sheet, you can reach me. For PD1 people, so the security model kind of indirect content, additional, it's not additional, it's required for your exam. So I updated some extra modules, and I'll be updating some help documents also. So make sure you are following. And for the PD1, I'm going to add some extra modules to have some basic idea about the Apex and all. So that's going to be the session next time. So before that, you can have brief introduction on that by yourself, and come for the session, you will get the full idea on that. Any question, if you have anything, you can ask in WhatsApp, and we can reach us separately also. Yeah, Sharma, we are good to go.
Yeah, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the group. You have dedicated groups and the comment group as well. Or else even you can PM us in the WhatsApp or Facebook or Twitter, or wherever you are feeling comfortable, you can contact us, no worries. But spend your time, invest your time, obviously you will get the output as you expected. And as Brenda mentioned, next week Sunday as well, we will be having another sessions. Probably it will be for PD1 people regarding
Sharma, it will be Saturday, I guess, 5th.
Oh, sorry, it will be Saturday. Yeah. Thanks for that. It will be coming Saturday, 5th of February. Probably it will be PD1. We will be confirm you within the next couple of days. So those taking the PD1 exams, you can participate the meeting on Saturday. If you guys have
I would like to make an announcement. Sometime we might have 2 sessions, admin and PD1 separately, or 1 session Saturday and Sunday, or something like that. We will plan based on the speakers availability.
Yep. So we will be keeping posted, guys, in the official WhatsApp group. And until we meet next time, stay safe. Happy learning, guys. Thanks for participating. Thanks for your time.